ladies and gentlemen. Hello, my name is Larison Charles, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Tuesday, the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 26th of August, 2025. So, yes, welcome everyone. Look, I wanted to pick up very quickly on the Intel stock. And because has been hitting the wires recently, and I mean, we understand. If you haven't seen the news, basically, the U.S. government acquired 10% of the company. Now, in general, I would say this is something a little bit extraordinary when the U.S. government kind of intervenes into a private company and acquires a portion of it. In a way, these are not like hard times or anything like that, and unless again it's up to interpretation, of course, by some. But in general, we're not seeing like a major financial crash or anything like that, where let's say a government temporarily steps in and manages the company in order like to save jobs, for instance. Here, no, it's purely profit driven, purely financial, should I say gain driven. Well, everything is actually financial, so purely gain driven here. For it's not like that they want to maybe save the company, unless they of course can say that if they don't step in right now, then a great company like Intel could eventually collapse, and we could see the end to it. Again, everything is up to interpretation. Certainly, we can debate on this. Some might support this idea, some might not. But again, it's just like I said, it's just an interesting timing and moment. So even if we see a possible collapse of Intel due to the competition has shown up now, then yeah, in a way you can say that it's a good move. The company, the government is trying to save the company and everything. However, the problem here is that you're if you would be trying to save the company, you would be acquiring probably more than half of it. Like at least the controlling part of it, like 51%. But you're not. You're actually just getting a little stake in it. So the whole idea probably is just to kind of have a pure gain, financial gain out of it. Now, another interesting part of it is that the purchase of the kind of this. Um, from what I read, it's kind of the moment where where the company basically is getting the government is funding this whole stock purchase with the current scheme, which has been already in place, where basically where the government kind of is using the funds which have been already allocated under the Biden presidency, under the Biden administration, and those funds basically are not coming out like from the current administration. So it's already like something that was already planned for Intel, like a support, a support program for U.S. local companies, and Intel is one of those. And basically, from like I said, from what I read, is that yeah, they're getting those billions into the company, and it's just part of that other sum that came in. First, they had already that Intel already had received around 2.2 billion from that program, and they're set to receive another 5.7 billion. And then there's a separate federal program which awarded already 3.2 billion out of the total 11.1 billion US dollars. So in a way, what's happening here is that maybe I'm just assuming here that the company might have been, the word blackmailed. I wouldn't call it blackmail, but just kind of encouraged. That's the word that we could be using nowadays. That if you're not going to give us 10% of the company, we're not actually we might stop the program, and we do have the power. So that's kind of the shady moment of it. In general, like I said, the way everything is shaping up, of course, this is not really putting a very positive spin on the whole thing, on the whole point of being listed on the U.S. On the U.S. stock exchange, where when the government can any time at any time can come in and kind of demand, a stake in your company. So that's kind of the negative part of it, and this is where, like I said, it's kind of putting that shade, throwing that shade on the on the whole system in a way. Of course, we might also debate, what's better. Just let's say to be listed on the U.S. stock exchange and be exposed to that. To this market, have a better exposure to this market, to be more attractive for investors, and maybe try to recoup the funding this way, even though you have to kind of pay 10, 15%, whatever. 15% is coming from Nvidia and AMD basically. But if you haven't heard that story, basically the government actually took 10 and 15% from AMD and Nvidia, and they took it from the revenues from the China sales that those two companies make. So not even profits, revenues. So basically, that's another kind of hostile approach in a way. Again, everybody will start debating that, oh, but this is to help them out. This is the little fee that they need to pay in order to have like U.S. Government support. Again, we know that the Western world likes to how to say what's the word for that, likes to blame the East in a way for, let's say, such practices that happen inside in the East, for example, right? And we know that this is what happens. But then now you're doing the same thing, so it's a little bit hypocritical. So long story short, again, looking at the stock here of Intel, look, on one hand, it looks quite interesting, right? It could be a positive moment here, but on the other hand, if I apply technical analysis on this, I can see we're having a little bit of an issue with this 26.3840 zone. We're struggling with that barrier. We need to clear that. On the other hand, we also have this key area of support around the 18 and a half zone. Again, everything is roughly ish, and what we're seeing here is basically a range. You can see that we have been ranging, and the stock has been ranging since around September of 2024, so basically for about a year. And now the question is, which way are we going to break out to? Now, of course, if we do apply normal technical analysis, we would say that the prevailing trend is to the downside. We enter a range, so the greater chance for this one to break out is to the downside. However, again, I don't know if the U.S. government somehow will try to boost Intel, and something tells me that they will, because again, they need to present it as all American and all everything is locally made. On one hand, yes, that could bring in positivity. On the other hand, your Intel's main clientele is overseas, and if I'm not mistaken, it's around like three quarters, 3/4 of clients are actually, and Intel's revenue is coming from abroad. So now you have issues. Now, in a way, given that the current U.S. administration is aligning itself with this company, some might have reservations. Some clients abroad might have reservations from actually purchasing anything from Intel, thinking that, what, I don't want to support the government, which is kind of trying to impose tariffs on me, right? So in a way, that's like that. This is another thing that could backfire. So look, it's an interesting play. I think if Intel somehow pushes through this 26.3840 zone, okay, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the upside. Then, of course, I'm going to target the area near the psychological $30 mark, around there somewhere. And then after that, if we want to see it clear, I mean, if we can get a clearance of that, maybe this could get boosted further north. But look, I mean, no doubt that the stock has experienced quite a significant decline. We can see that the stock also has removed, has removed dividends from paying out, and I mean, for the past year, it's just kind of moving sideways. So again, it's a problematic moment in my opinion for Intel. I think it's going to be either they're going to make it or not. I don't know if the whole government thing will help them out. Unless maybe they will go in a different path. However, what I've said already in the beginning of this video, that the image part could be already shaken a little bit. And again, I'm really curious if Intel can find now, um, or the current clientele of Intel will remain with Intel. Most likely they will, of course, but if there is a decline, that's what's going to be interesting. However, another little kind of idea here is that maybe, just maybe, given that that we Intel does have competitors like Nvidia and AMD. Um, the thing is that maybe, given that there's pressure on those two companies, maybe actually Intel could attract more attention, just because the, the companies which are buying the services and products from Intel could, in a way, see that, hey, maybe yes, I'm not a big fan of the U.S. government. However, given that it's backing it, it has a stake, so it doesn't want to fail. So probably they could innovate and blah blah blah. And so that's why I'm going to purchase that. So again, there's like this. There's food for thought. It's for you, of course, ladies and gentlemen, to decide what to do with it, if you want to do anything with it. But in general, it's an interesting moment that we're going through. Is it very ethical? No, but again, nothing is ethical nowadays, to be honest. So again, I hope you found this useful, ladies and gentlemen. Just I wanted to share my little thoughts here on Intel. I think it's an interesting moment, and especially technical wise, from a technical perspective, yep, we are at a very interesting spot. So, question is, like I said, can we break this territory and move towards that psychological $30 mark, or actually are we going to just fall off the cliff here and yep, just kind of drift lower? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments what you think. It would be really, really nice to know. And yeah, as always, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I'll see you later. Bye bye.